Well, is it LSU for Lane Kiffin? We'll take a look at the contract proposal that LSU is run by Lane Kiffin and his agent Jimmy Sexton. It's also been run by the governor and has his blessing. We'll get into that. A reminder, hit that subscribe button so we can keep this free for you. We love having you aboard. It's free, and make sure that you like, share, so that we can provide you this football information all year round. Well, the deal that LSU has is still being modified, not finalized yet, but got the parameters of a deal. And we'll go through it and kind of where things are at this stage. The early part of the week with Lane Kiffin saying he's going to make his decision, announce a decision Saturday after the Egg Bowl, which is Friday. 7 years, around $90 million with incentives built in. This is why I think you're hearing different figures. LSU's initial offer was 6 years. Jimmy Sexton pushed for 7, and I think LSU may go to that, but they want a few things in it. Now, by adding an extra year, LSU is putting some incentives to be placed in the contract. Some of them are easier to be earned incentives than others, some not so much. So there are going to be financial escalators in this contract that, again, some that are easy to attain, making a bowl game. And some that maybe making the playoffs, winning the SEC championship, making the championship game, winning the championship. That can bring the value of the contract even higher. The length of the deal is what has been the sticking point for LSU, obviously, in the Brian Kelly contract. It's not the fact that they've got to pay what they were paying them per year. It's having to pay 6 years of it, 7 years of it. They don't want to have to do that going forward. So the 10-year type of contract is what they wanted to avoid. If he does well, there's some incentives that can be added and more years potentially added based on the levels of success. The fact that the contract was leaked, I know LSU administrators are not happy about it. You don't want your contracts out there so others can potentially top it. The candidate agents, in my experience in coaching searches, benefit the most from the leak. Often when a deal is done, it's not as rich as reported. Agents will inflate the numbers and it goes into the public. So keep that in mind that this has been leaked. This could be, I think it's very close. I think it's accurate based on what I've been told. But again, from the LSU side, but it could be modified a little bit. So it could be slightly less, but with escalators in the deals, I think the numbers are pretty close to this. The buyout to pay off Kiffin is structured the more he has success. The larger the buyout, is going to depend upon the time he spent, how much success he's had. It protects LSU from more years and a lot of money. It protects LSU from having a situation where somebody just basically lays down on the job and wants to collect 6 or 7 years of pay. Paying 2 or 3 years of a large financial deal is quite different than 7 years at the same financial package. Look, if you have a 6-year, 7-year deal, the coach is going to be there for 4 of it. Definitely 3, probably 4, and so paying out 2 or 3 years is a big difference. The biggest selling point in this deal, because the money from Florida and Ole Miss is roughly the same. Maybe the contract structure is a little different, but the money is in this same neighborhood. The biggest selling point to Kiffin is the NIL commitment. Now, just so people understand, I know most of you do, some of you may not. Revenue sharing has been voted in July 1st this past year, which basically gives each school $20.5 million to split among all their sports. For LSU, for example, a lot of programs in the SEC, about $15 million of that is going to be put on football. On top of that, an NIL program is the key selling point. No longer can schools write a check for players for doing nothing and getting over the market value for appearances. Yeah, we'll pay this person $100,000. All NIL collectives going forward that are over, I think it's $600, have to be run by the accounting firm of Deloitte and Touche for approval. So you can't give large amounts of money to players if it's not marking value for making an appearance. Deloitte and Touche will determine the appropriate value based upon information that they have. So having well-placed NIL programs, like LSU has, like Our Lady of the Lake, Raising Cane's, several others, gives LSU the upper hand because they have been organized now for a couple of years. And in fact, some of the business leaders who have committed to this deal are also on the LSU Board of Supervisors through that LSU Max program that they started and working on 2 years ago. LSU has had that plan in writing in their contract, so they have given them that. While others are maybe given verbal commitments, LSU shows in detail how they're going to guarantee the money, how the money is going to be made. LSU has promised a $25 million NIL commitment, which along with that $15 million from the rev share gets LSU football a $40 million legitimate and approved budget to recruit players. LSU's brand is big. Their financial NIL structure appears to be the best among the folks that are suitors for Lane Kiffin here. LSU's not only has multimedia third-party marketing arms, they're using these companies to organize legitimate, money-making, approvable deals for LSU athletes. So depending on what the student athlete's value is, they're going to be like rate cards, just like, businesses, advertising companies have rate cards. They are going to work in conjunction with the guidelines with Deloitte and Touche so that they can look and say, yes, we can provide this $25 million. Straight pay for play will not be accepted now. What's going to happen to them if they don't? Who knows? Now the question is this enough to get Kiffin to accept the LSU job? Well, LSU feels so. Checking with LSU, they feel good about their offer. You never know. Maybe still a little bit nervous because Lane is unpredictable, but they feel good about it. Florida and Ole Miss, checking with them. They are actively involved. And Florida's been involved in their coaching search for some time now. They have interviewed other candidates. LSU is not. Ole Miss is now working, even with a head coach that they apparently don't know. And people say, well, he's already told them that, he's going to stay. I don't believe that's true. Ole Miss is actively getting involved in coaching searches should Lane Kiffin decide to leave. For example, if they want John Summerall, they want to get involved so that he doesn't go to Auburn and they give a chance to make their spiel to him. Which is why Ole Miss needs to know. Everyone needs to know what Lane is going to do. I do know that LSU has a backup plan. They've not formally interviewed anyone yet. Look, with Lane Kiffin, you never know. I'm not convinced that he knows. Or if he does, it could change. It could change. His mind could change between now and Saturday. Look, I think everybody feels this and that. If you look at it logically, if you're going to have this announcement Saturday, it would suggest in normal circumstances that if he was going to stay at Ole Miss, if he had made his mind up to stay at Ole Miss, he would have announced that. I think it would give Ole Miss a bigger push as they go into the Egg Bowl, into the playoffs. The fact that he didn't would suggest that he either hasn't made up his mind or Kiffin, who loves drama, wanted to drag this out another week. Or combination of both. So expect more speculation this week, but I don't think I certainly am not going to be comfortable knowing for sure until it's announced. And even then, you wonder if, until he's at the podium, till he's announced, I don't know that we can make it a sure thing. We're going to keep you up to date here. Want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, but we'll be around this week updating. So appreciate you joining us. Again, hit that subscribe button, share, like with your friends. Always great to be with you. Visit us over at LandryFootball.com as well. Have a great day, everybody.